You wake up, but it doesn't feel like waking up. It feels like resurfacing from something heavy. You sit on the edge of your bed and stare, not at anything, just through everything. And for a moment, you wonder if today will feel different. But deep down, you already know the answer. No one sees the weight. You go to work. You reply to messages. You smile when you have to. But inside, there's only fog. A quiet scream. A heart that beats but doesn't feel alive. And the worst part? You've started to think this is your new normal. That maybe Allah isn't listening anymore. Maybe you've gone too far. But then, a whisper from the Quran finds you. Your Lord has not forsaken you, nor has He hated you. Quran 93:3. Not forgotten. Not unloved. Not alone. You tell yourself you're fine. You've said it so many times, it comes out like a reflex. I'm okay. Just tired. It'll pass. But you know that's not true. You're not okay. And it hasn't passed. There's a lie that's grown roots in your mind. That if you feel this broken, then you must be broken. That if your heart is this heavy, then maybe Allah has already turned away. And so, you fake it. You worship quietly, speak politely, do everything right. But you feel like an outsider in your own soul. But here's the truth. Your emotions are not evidence of Allah's absence. Your numbness is not proof of failure. He sees what you bury. And He reminds you, not with punishment, but with mercy. Indeed, with hardship comes ease. Quran 94:6. That ache in your chest isn't your ending. It's the beginning of your return. What if your sadness wasn't a curse? What if your anxiety wasn't your enemy, but your invitation? You begged Allah for peace. And then everything around you broke. People left. Sleep faded. Smiles disappeared. And in the middle of all that collapse, you whispered, why? But what if that storm wasn't to destroy you? It was to strip away everything that distracted you from Him. Allah doesn't abandon. He reclaims. And sometimes, the only way to bring you back is to shake the ground beneath your feet until you fall to your knees. Because that's where healing starts. Not in comfort, but in surrender. And we will surely test you with something of fear, hunger, loss. But give good news to the patient. Quran 2:155. This storm is not your punishment. It's your purification. There was a night when you lay in bed, staring at the ceiling. Not thinking, not crying, just frozen. You weren't tired, but you couldn't move. You weren't angry, but something inside you was screaming. And it felt endless. You checked the time. 2:11 a.m. Then 3:07. Then 4:39. The hours crawled past like ghosts. And somewhere in the silence, a thought entered your chest like a knife. This is how I'll always be. That's what Shaitan wants. Not to destroy your body, but to make you believe there's no way back to the light. But then you remember. And by the night when it covers, and the morning when it appears. Quran 92:1-2. Every night in the Quran ends with light. And so will yours. It didn't happen in sujood. It didn't happen after a long lecture or a powerful reminder. It happened in your room. Alone. With tears you didn't even understand. You had nothing left to say. No eloquent dua. No strong voice. Just a whisper, Ya Allah. And that whisper shook the heavens. Because it was real. Not filtered. Not forced. Just you, broken, scared, exhausted. Finally calling out not with your tongue, but with your heart. And do you know what he says? I am near. I respond to the call of the caller when he calls upon me. Quran 2, 186. He didn't ask for perfection. He didn't ask for poetry. He asked for a heart that still reaches for him, even through the pain. And that's exactly what you gave. You stood. You recited. You bowed. You prostrated. And when you gave salam, you felt nothing. No peace. No connection. Just the weight of guilt pressing harder on your chest. You wanted to cry, but your heart felt hollow. You wanted to feel something, anything, but it was like praying through a wall. And then came the whispers. You're a hypocrite. Allah won't accept that. Why bother? But listen carefully. Even when your heart is silent, your soul is still speaking. Even when you feel numb, your obedience still rises to Him. Faith isn't measured by emotion, it's measured by returning. Establish prayer to remember me. Quran 20:14. You showed up. And that alone is proof that you haven't given up. There's a voice inside you that never seems to rest. It doesn't scream, it whispers. Soft, constant, cruel. You're not a good Muslim. You'll never be like them. You're too far gone. And the worst part, you start to believe it. You compare your broken heart to their perfect recitations, your trembling hands to their peaceful faces. And somewhere along the way, you convince yourself that Allah must love them more. But here's what that voice doesn't want you to know. Allah never asked you to be perfect. He asked you to keep coming back. Even if it's messy, even if you fall, do not despair of the mercy of Allah. Indeed, He forgives all sins. Quran 39:53. That voice in your head isn't truth. It's a lie. And it's time you silenced it with mercy. There's a chapter in the Quran that wasn't sent during victory. It wasn't revealed during peace or comfort. It came down when the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, felt abandoned. When revelation stopped. When the silence became unbearable. When the people began to mock him and whisper, "Your Lord has left you." And then light. By the morning brightness and by the night when it covers with darkness. Your Lord has not forsaken you, nor has He hated you. Quran 93:1-3. This surah, Ad-Duha, was sent to heal a heart that thought it had been left behind. To remind him, and now, you, that silence from Allah is never rejection. It's preparation. It's mercy. This surah wasn't just for him. It was for every soul who would one day sit in the dark and wonder if Allah still loved them. Yes, He does. It didn't feel like a breakthrough. There were no fireworks. No moment where everything suddenly made sense. Just a quiet day, where the heaviness in your chest wasn't as loud. Where your hands still trembled, but you made WD anyway. Where your thoughts still raced, but you whispered Bismillah and moved forward. That's how healing begins. Not with noise, but with consistency. Not with perfection, but with trying again. You thought healing would mean joy, but sometimes it just means breathing without guilt. Allah doesn't rush your recovery. He meets you in it. And He found you lost and guided you. Quran 93:7. So if all you did today was survive, if all you did was pray, even when it felt empty, that counts more than you think. It didn't come from a scholar's words or a perfectly edited reminder. It came from something small. Maybe the way the wine touched your face, or how your heart fluttered during one verse you've heard 1,000 times. Something inside you whispered, "What if He never stopped loving me?" And for the first time in a long time, you didn't argue with it. You let it sit there. You let it breathe. Because deep down, you always feared His silence meant rejection. That your sadness meant punishment. That your mistakes made you unworthy. But that was never from Him. Indeed, Allah is kind and merciful to the believers. Quran 33:43. He saw you in the darkest nights, and He never left. It just took time for you to see it. You've spent years trying to escape the version of you couldn't fix. Avoiding mirrors, avoiding memories, avoiding moments of silence, because that's when the real voice comes out. The one that says, "You're too far gone. You'll never be enough. You've already failed." So you distracted yourself with noise, with screams, with people, because facing yourself felt heavier than the pain itself. But one day, you stopped. You sat still. You let the tears fall. You let the memories sting. And you didn't run. Because healing doesn't begin when you escape your past. It begins when you turn around and walk through it. And whoever turns back to Allah, He will forgive him and guide him. Quran 42:25. You're not who you were. You're who you're becoming, one step closer, one breath braver. There was a moment, quiet and almost invisible, when something inside you shifted. You looked back at everything that broke you. The tears, the sleepless nights, the panic, the silence. And for the first time, you didn't ask, "Why me?" You asked, "What did it lead me to?" And the answer was clear. It led you here. To your knees. To your nod. To a version of yourself that finally stopped pretending. That pain you cursed, it peeled away the noise. It taught you who Allah really is, not just in theory, but in experience. Perhaps you hate a thing and it is good for you. Quran 2:16. Maybe your heart had to break, so it would finally open. Not every wound destroys. Some of them are instructions from the divine. It wasn't formal. You weren't even sure if it counted as the way. You were just walking, or maybe sitting in your room. And you started talking. Not reciting, but speaking. Ya Allah, I'm tired. Ya Allah, I don't know what I'm doing. Please, just don't leave me. It felt strange at first, but also peaceful. Because for the first time, you weren't performing. You were being real. And that's what He wanted. Not perfection. Not memorization. But you. Indeed, your Lord is near and responsive. Quran 11:61. You don't need a script to be heard. You don't need perfect words to be loved. You just need a heart that's honest and a tongue willing to whisper His name in the dark. It wasn't dramatic. There was no sunrise moment or angelic glow. Just a quiet breath that didn't feel heavy. You noticed it in small things. You smiled and meant it. You prayed and felt something. You heard a verse and it reached you again. Not because the pain vanished, but because your heart softened. You stopped measuring your worth by how broken you felt. You stopped fearing that Allah was silent. You started trusting that even in your darkest moments, He was working on you, slowly, gently, lovingly. He brings them out from darkness into light by His permission. Quran 2:57. This wasn't a return to who you used to be. This was the first glimpse of who you were always meant to become. You've tried everything. Distractions, silence, isolation, numbness. But none of it ever brought peace. Now, you know why. Peace doesn't come from escaping pain. It comes from returning to the one who never left. You still have hard days. You still cry. You still question things. But now, you don't run from the darkness. You carry light into it. Because you finally believed this truth. Allah was never punishing you. He was pulling you back. Every breakdown, every breathless night, every unanswered question. It was all part of the map leading you home. So flee to Allah. Quran 51:50. Not because you're lost, but because now you know that no matter how far you fall, He is always where you begin again.